Hey everybody, it's Jim here. In this week's uncut video, I'm going to be talking about and showing you my favorite Epiphone of all time, as well as discussing guitars that are meant to be kept within the family, so to speak. I'm going to start off though by getting the guitar out of the case. Now this has seen better days, but I gotta tell you, at least it still functions. All the latches still work and all that fun stuff. We recently had a lot of problems with car. My wife got hit by a car while she was driving. Fortunately, she wasn't a pedestrian. It could have been way worse. But my father-in-law drove from the other side of Florida. He moved here a little bit after we did, and he wanted to see if he could help out. And when he came back, he brought all of his guitars because he doesn't want to play anymore, and he doesn't see a point to having them. And he said, you know what? Why don't you fix up these guitars and sell them for whatever you can get? I just want people to be playing, and I feel like they're just wasted being here. And the truth be told with that, before I get into this guitar, because obviously I'm holding a Sheridan too, for Epiphone, he never really liked playing guitar or could play guitar. He just loved guitars. And when I used to go over before my wife and I got married to their house in San Diego, they had a pool in the backyard, and I would take the Mustang Micro and either the Gold Jazzmaster or my old Surf Green 62 Stratocaster reissue, and I would just sit in the back. We would all just jam out, play tunes, and have so much fun. He was always so excited. He loved showing me all of his guitars. There's a few other ones that you guys will see. Some very interesting stuff, but I actually, when I took this guitar out of the case to just see what was going on and what he brought over, I was surprised at how good a shape this was in, and I realized the reason it's in such good shape is because I set this guitar up before I left California, and it's been basically untouched sitting in the case since. I needed to adjust the truss rod a little bit and go from there. But the rest of that story out of the way, again, he was kind enough to leave this to me, and we'll get into the second part, obviously, keeping guitars into the family, after I go over this guitar and why I like it so much. So this is Epiphone Sheridan that was made in Unsung, Korea, or by Unsung in Korea. Epiphones have an interesting history with where they have been made. Originally, obviously, Kalamazoo, and then you had some that are made in Japan, some that are made in Korea, both by Unsung and by Samick. Peerless, I believe, also made some, and then you have Indonesia, and now most of the new Epiphones, if not all of them, if I'm recalling this correctly, are made in China, and a few American ones as well, such as the Casino. But we have this one, and I've always thought that this was such a great sounding and great playing instrument. So I'm going to play a little bit, and then, we'll shoot the shit. I first saw this guitar, I had not held a 335 sized instrument for an excessive amount of time, longer than maybe 10, 15 minutes of screwing around with buddies, ever. And initially, my first experience with this guitar was to set the thing up. It was in a bad way. This was many years ago, prior to the most recent setup that I was talking about. And the first thing I noticed straight away was it actually forces me, and this is a big benefit if you're a smaller person and people say you don't look right with a big 335 or a Sheridan or a Casino guitar. It doesn't look right. It's really good for your body to play one of these because it forces your posture to be a little bit better, because the guitar, obviously, it's a little bit taller. And I like that straight away. And one thing I really like about big hollow bodies in general, not just this Epiphone, you can enjoy this without an amp. And it just sounds great. And I always love that idea, because a guitar like the Gold Jazzmaster, which was, my main guitar at that time, it did not provide the same exact kind of experience as a semi-hollow body instrument when I was playing acoustically, or if I was just at night, if I had an idea. I didn't have all these digital ways of plugging things in, and quite frankly, the ones that I had tried, I all thought they sounded like garbage, and I just assumed not play guitar, just to go out to the bar instead if I wasn't gigging that night. But if I had had a guitar like this, I probably would have been more likely at that time, living in smaller spaces, to have been playing and writing it more at night at home. And one thing about this is interesting, because I sold a few guitars. I sold the Blue Flower Telecaster. It doesn't really apply for what I'm about to talk about, but I also got rid of the Mustang, the Vintera 2. And the reason why I ended up parting with the Mustang was because the neck shape of it, combined with the thickness, it really made my hand cramp up. And what's interesting about this guitar, it's something that I've learned over time. When you're looking at neck measurements online, you might see the depth at the 1st fret and the 12th fret, and you might think, oh, that's going to fit perfect. And honestly, that's what I've had a lot of experience with Paul Reed Smith. On paper, they look really good. The problem is the actual shape of the neck, and that's why I don't like the pattern thin at all, and I didn't really care for the oval style one that was on the Vintera 72 Mustang, playing it back to back with a bunch of guitars. My hand just kind of giving out on me, and that's a bad sign. This does have a little bit of a slimmer neck, but it's got a nice shape, so it doesn't hurt to play for extended periods, and it stays in tune great. The only thing that really jumps out to me, I haven't done a back-to-back. I'm going to, because I have this here now with the Gibson, the 335. When I play through the amplifiers, it is night and day which is the better instrument, because the pickups, the calibrated T-types in the 335 are miles above whatever these are in this Epiphone. But outside of that, in the actual neck shape, because it's got a big old rounded C, this guitar is great. It really is great. The build quality is great. It's got a good feel to it, and I don't know. I've always loved this guitar, and since having this guitar on my workbench all those years ago, I've had the opportunity to play a lot of other Korean Epiphones, and I'm not always sure which factory they were in, but they've all had that same kind of really good high-end quality. You're not getting Laurel. This is rosewood, and what I like about these also is that they haven't skyrocketed in value. Like a guitar like this, it's coming with a hard shell case. I mean, granted, we got the Toilex is coming apart, but the case itself was built to last, and they're affordable. So you can find guitars like these that are really good, and if you are so inclined, you could always swap out the electronics and do whatever you wanted to as far as modifying anything if it was like a perfect feeling guitar and you just didn't love the way that it sounded. I know that there's a guy named Jens Larson. I've taken a few jazz lessons watching his YouTube videos, and he played one of these for the longest time. He loved his Sheridan, and I can't speak highly enough of it. Believe it or not, I really do like this guitar, and I like these line of guitars in general. Before I get into jamming this, and we'll do a little bit of an outro, we'll talk about the idea of keeping guitars in the family, because, as I said, when he came, he bought a few other guitars, and it's like he didn't want to play anymore. He did want them to get played, but I think of things like there are certain guitars that I have, like the Gold Jazz Master. That's going to be my kids one day. The JV Strat, the JV Telly, and now that guy. You can't see it. The JV Jazz Master. I want those all to stay in the family with various people, depending on, how things happen over time. Other children or other people that I consider to be family that I know just won't pawn the damn thing off. And I think it'll make my father-in-law really happy if this guitar does absolutely stay in this household. My daughter's little Epiphone Les Paul, that's like half size or something like that. It's very small. That was from him as well. And yeah, so this guitar, maybe we'll mess with it a little bit. It'll be, how things go, or maybe I'll just keep it stock and just enjoy it for what it is and have some fun playing with it, because I really do think that this is a great guitar. But if you have any guitars that you plan on leaving after you're gone, or before you're gone and you're just ready to pass it on to the next generation. Again, I know a few people that follow this channel, they got kids and their kids play, and people consider that. Do you ever consider that? If you have kids, when you're buying a guitar, you're like, this is the one. Like, I'm going to buy a Gibson Custom Shop 64 335, and that's going to be the guitar that stays in this family, forever. I don't know. Stuff like that, it's not things I ponder very often, but I don't know, given the last week and this, I felt like it was something that was on my mind, and the entire purpose of these uncut videos is just free form and working things out and kind of bouncing ideas off of you guys, because you seem to really enjoy these kinds of things. But my little one is asleep. We got the noisemaker on in her room, and she's on the other end of the house, so I can play a little bit, but I can't get too loud. One thing that I did notice about these pickups, the reason I don't love them, they have this really sterile sound to them. Like right now, I got the Protein on, and it kind of masks it a little bit, even without like a ton of gain. This is it with it off. So I'm not adding much to it, but